Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. Tears and anger. The parents of an Abbotsford teen stabbed to death at her high school give their victim impact statements. Also,
to be escorted out is kind of embarrassing.
Why a Burnaby mother is calling out Playland for being inaccessible. And
listen, we're desperate. Financially, we are desperate.
They were forced to move and sales plummeted. Now the owners of some Vancouver food trucks are fighting back.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with an emotional day in court for the family of a 13-year-old girl stabbed to death at her Abbotsford High School in 2016. Sadness and anger from Letitia Reimer's parents as they looked her killer in the eyes. Gabriel Klein faces a mandatory life sentence, and as Jason Proctor reports, the question at his sentencing hearing is how long he should have to wait until he can apply for parole.
Eliane Reimer's victim impact statement took the form of what was almost a minute-by-minute diary of November 1st, 2016. That was the day her world stopped, she said. It began with a phone call telling her Letitia had been stabbed and she needed to get to the high school immediately. There was a frantic drive, the sight of her daughter on a stretcher, a hospital waiting room, a page calling all available surgeons, and finally, a doctor asking her to sit. And his lip was quivering, Eliane Reimer said. No, this could not be true. This was not happening. Not our daughter. Not our family in this community. Gabriel Klein walked into Abbotsford Senior Secondary and began stabbing Reimer and her friend known as EI as they studied in a hallway. He stabbed EI 4 times before she got away. He stabbed Reimer 14 times. Klein has been diagnosed with schizophrenia, but the judge who heard the case said he was still criminally responsible because he knew his acts were wrong. Second-degree murder carries a mandatory life sentence. The question at this hearing will be how long before Klein can apply for parole. The Crown believes it should be at least 18 years and that he should receive a 7-year concurrent sentence for the attack on EI. Reimer's father spoke, saying that while the attention during the trial was on Klein, the focus should be on his precious, blameless daughter instead. EI's mother talked about the struggles, physical and emotional, that her daughter had after surviving the attack that killed her best friend. She said all her accomplishments are twinned with sadness over the milestones Letitia Reimer's family cannot share. Eliane Reimer concluded her time on the stand by speaking directly to Gabriel Klein. She told him what she hoped for. That you never have another moment of peace again in your life, she said. That every time you close your eyes, these are the thoughts that fill your brain, and you cannot get away from these pictures and the sounds of her screams in your head. Letitia Reimer would have been 19 years old on December 12th. Her mother said she looked peaceful in death, as though she was sleeping. The sentencing hearing is expected to conclude on Friday. Jason Proctor, CBC News, Vancouver.
A Burnaby mom is calling out Playland for being inaccessible to people in wheelchairs and people who can't wear masks after she and her 7-year-old daughter were told they couldn't get on any rides. As the CBC's Michelle Gassoub reports, the amusement park has said it's just following COVID protocols.
We come here for a fun afternoon, and to be escorted out is kind of embarrassing.
It was supposed to be a carefree day at Playland for Bobby Dubé and her 7-year-old daughter, Michaela. Michaela can't wear a mask because of her disabilities, and when Dubé called ahead, Playland told her that was okay. But after half an hour of waiting for a ride,
they escorted us off the ride and said, sorry, no ride person in here is going to allow her on a ride without a mask on. And I was like, that's crazy.
Playland says everyone must wear a mask while getting on and off rides, no exceptions. It also got rid of a ride accessibility program called the Exit Pass, designed to help people in wheelchairs navigate lineups.
She's sitting in a wheelchair, and you can't get the wheelchair through the lineup, and then what am I supposed to do with it once we get on a ride? I can't turn it around and go through 50 people to get out.
Playland says the Exit Pass program was eliminated because COVID rules require defined entrances and exits. It's also apologizing to Dubé, but says it's just following provincial guidelines.
How can you not be accessible? Like, this is a place for kids to go have fun. So now you're saying if a kid has a disability, they can't go?
Dubé calls this experience all too common.
Everyone else is wearing a mask to help protect the vulnerable who can't wear a mask. I've been told many times at the mall, like, oh, put a mask on her, put a mask on her. Like, I know people don't understand, but if I could put a mask on her, I would.
Playland says it hopes the family will return, but Dubé is unsure.
A little bit of compassion, a little bit of accessibility, we would have the best day.
Instead, it turned sour. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, they were forced to move and lost a lot of money because of it. Now, some Vancouver food trucks are fighting to return to Robson Square. As Isabel Regem tells us, they had to relocate because of construction, but that work was finished months ago.
It was very tough for us, so we were dreaming to go back over there.
After 16 years, the owner of Moe's Hot Dog doesn't know how much longer his business can survive. His food truck and others used to be stationed in Robson Square, but for nearly 2 years, they've been moved to this sidewalk next to Nordstrom.
Here, everybody just passing through, nobody stopped.
Have you seen a drop in your sales?
Oh, big time, big time.
The owner of Sazi Thai says he's also seen sales cut in half, some days more. The public square was shut down in September 2019 for major renovations. In March, it reopened to the public. Alistair Fitzgerald believed he'd be back in the plaza by now.
Been open for a couple of months by the look of things, and we're still here. So we don't know why.
This regular says vendors had longer lines in the plaza and the setup made more sense.
There's chairs and tables in the square that makes it nice to, grab your food and sit down immediately.
The city of Vancouver tells CBC it's still working with partners to establish vending protocol for 800 Robson, but didn't give a timeline. These food truck owners say the matter is urgent, especially when they're managing with the impacts of the pandemic. Mohammed Nassim says he used to make about $200 a day. Now he'll have days where he makes $60.
You work there for almost 16 years, I work at Robson Square. So right now I'm here 2 years, I know how much suffering. Last year I didn't work even not 1 month.
Owners say the city has failed to give them any clear details of when, if ever, they'll be allowed to return. And without that information, it's hard to plan next steps.
I just keep putting you off. I'll let you know, and that was the last email I got.
What they do know, staying in this spot puts them deeper in the red every day. Isabel Regem, CBC News, Vancouver.
It's the start of the 2021 salmon migration season, and officials are working to help more salmon pass the site of the Big Bar landslide.
We have crews at site, First Nations crews working closely with DFO crews, and they have a number of systems in place to move fish past the slide if and when necessary.
It's been 2 years since migrating salmon were blocked by the massive rock slide. Since then, salmon runs on the Fraser River have reached historic lows. Crews have removed rock, widened waterways, and installed fish wheels to help the fish get through. Meteorologist Johanna Wagstaffe joins us now with the forecast. Joe, a little break from the heat today, it seems, but what about these heat warnings coming into effect?
That's right. Just over an hour ago, Environment Canada issuing widespread heat warnings for almost all of British Columbia. Take a look. I have not seen this too many times from Metro Vancouver, much of the island, through to parts of the Kootenays and all the way up to Fort Nelson. This is where extreme and dangerous heat is expected from Friday through to Tuesday. We are in a bit of a break between heat domes today, and we'll feel that break again tomorrow. It's Friday that we'll start to see things bump up. Saturday and Sunday hitting the 40s for parts of southern BC. This is just straight model data, Anita. I think these temperatures are actually underplaying what we could end up seeing with the peak of the heat through Sunday into Monday. So I'll break it all down, talk about how we can start preparing for this coming up a little later on in the show.
Yes, we'll need to know that for sure. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
With the country still grappling with grief and anger in the wake of the Kamloops residential school discovery, Another grim finding, hundreds of unmarked graves at the site of another former residential school, this one in Saskatchewan. Marival Residential School was situated on what is now part of the Cowessess First Nation east of Regina. The Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations says the discovery will be the most substantial to date in Canada. The Kamloops 215 has sparked an effort to search for other undocumented burial sites. We will have more details on this discovery in a news conference tomorrow. News like this can be upsetting and traumatic. Crisis lines are offering support for survivors and their loved ones. The 24-hour Indian Residential School Survivor Society can be reached at 1-866-925-4419. The CUAS crisis line is another option and has lines for adults as well as youth. That information is also on our website, cbc.ca/BC. Well, many landmarks right here in Metro Vancouver are known by an Indigenous name. With the help of a Squamish cultural guide, we're taking a tour to important sites that you'll likely recognize. Places known to generations of people before Canada existed on the map, and we're learning how to say their names in the Squamish language.
Hatsquile, Eoktanoyap, Chinwa Atiti, Natakui, Kamkamalai, Ochomeo, Sanakwila, Kuyansna. Hi everybody, my name is Sanakwila. Today we're here at the village to the Squamish people known as Kamkamalai, and I will help you to learn how to pronounce it so you can try saying it yourself as well. This area, we're at the foot of Gore Street, we're on the docks. Driving from Squamish or Whistler down to Vancouver, that might be one area that you've seen the signs in the Squamish language that says Kamkamalai. Kamkamalai means the place of many maple trees. This is referring to the beautiful grove of many maple trees that has been here for so very long, much before colonization. As we can see, it's very industrial now. There are really only 2 maple trees left here today, so it still could be called Kamkamalai in the sense of talking about the maple trees. So for here at Kamkamalai, in order to help pronounce it, one of the best techniques in really, really long words is to try and pronounce it from the end and backwards build up. So this way we start at the end of the word and we build up all of the syllables until you can pronounce the whole word from the end to the beginning. So for here, we'll start at the end. We'll say alai, alai, come alai, come alai, come alai, come alai. Chinwa Atiti Nat Kwa Luk Lakai Ochomeo. Today we would call it Crab Park. In the Squamish language, Luk Lakai. So Luk Lakai, Luk Lakai. So starting at the end, Kai, Akai, Luk Lakai, Luk Lakai, Luk Lakai. Hatsquile Tanoyap, Chinwa Atiti, Natukwa Sanauk, Ochomeo. Today we're here, the village is known to the Squamish people as Sanauk. Sanauk, this is the name where we are underneath the Burrard Street Bridge in Vancouver within Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. So the K with the underline, so with our Squamish language, we have what we call guttural sounds. So when it's making noises from more deeper in your throat. So the KW, it'll be k, k. So make sure you go a little bit deeper when you make that sound. K, ak, ak, nauk, nauk, anauk, sanauk. Again, we are here in Sanauk, and it would be very meaningful not only to acknowledge the lands that you're on and looking at unceded traditional territories, but how everyone can begin to learn how to pronounce the specific areas and the villages within the native languages. So hoi chuka, I say thank you to you all, and hoi mathlath. See you later.
Well, NHL playoffs are on CBC, so we'd just like to remind you how and where you can watch this show. We'll be on every weekday at 6 p.m. online, streaming on CBC Gem, YouTube, and Facebook. And then we'll be on TV after the hockey game each evening. Those times will change depending on when the game starts and ends. You can always watch our show on demand at cbc.ca/BC. The COVID-19 Delta virus has mutated. So what is Delta Plus and who is it infecting? Next. Thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. A florist in a small Nova Scotia community has found a new way to do business thanks to the pandemic. As Colleen Jones shows us, the woman has taken her love of flowers on the road in a most unusual way.
It's early in the morning when Marlise Van Sloten pulls into the parking lot at Boulangerie de Vendant, the French bakery here in Blockhouse. She backs up her horse trailer, jumps out, levels it up. Then she starts to set up her shop. But don't expect to see a horse coming out of her trailer. Normally for horses, this trailer?
No horses, just flowers.
And if you've ever smelled a horse trailer, trust me, these flowers, way better. Welcome to the Flower Pod.
Amazing peonies grown in the valley.
For Dutch-born Marlies, trained as a floral designer in the Netherlands, when she transplanted to Nova Scotia, she wanted to continue with her passion.
It's like a spiral technique. European hentai bouquets.
Because she lives in such a rural area and the province was in the midst of a pandemic, the idea of creating a mobile business where she goes to the people popped into her head. The idea of the horse trailer flower pod soon took root.
I wanted the flexibility as well as the lower overheads.
Her husband customized it for her, and she left the traditional bricks and mortar business plan that was the norm. Well, this is her new normal.
I have been working for others for so many years, so I was, how do I want to do this for myself and have the flexibility of choosing the days that I want to pop up.
She opened her business just 2 months ago. She travels to small communities, sets up shop in the parking lots of businesses who see flower sales as a very nice add-on.
One of my favorite roses, it's called Free Spirit. I'm not sure if it's the name or the rose that is my favorite. Local businesses have been super supporting, inviting me to set up on their property.
I love that she is everywhere. You know, she's popping up everywhere and bringing her beautiful flowers.
And she's popping up all over. For example, Thursday she'll be in Hebville, then on to the Farmers Market in New Germany on Friday, then back to Blockhouse, places that don't have flower shops mostly, but the Flower Pod is spreading floral love one bouquet at a time. Colleen Jones, CBC News, Blockhouse.
We'll be back in a few moments with more on COVID-19 here in BC and in India. Stay with us. Seven new cases of COVID-19 today in BC and one new death. For the first time since October, the province is now averaging less than one death from the virus every day. 109 people are in hospital, 41 of those in critical care. More than 24% of all adults have received a second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine.
75% has got the first shot, and I don't see any negative feedbacks.
Definitely a bit of hesitation at first, and then, just seeing my family friends and other people that I know getting the vaccine, and, the fact that the province is now opening up, it made me feel a lot more comfortable.
People lined up at the drop-in vaccination clinic at Vancouver Community College today. That's one of 4 drop-ins opened by Vancouver Coastal Health for people aged 12 and up to get their first dose. Non-BC residents and people without personal health numbers can also drop in. And health officials in India are watching a new COVID-19 variant of concern. It's known as Delta Plus, an offshoot of the variant first identified in India earlier this year, which is quickly becoming a dominant strain in many parts of the world. Freelance journalist Neha Punia is in New Delhi.
The Indian government has identified the Delta Plus variant as a variant of concern. It's a mutation of the original Delta variant that wreaked havoc on India during the second wave, leading to a catastrophic surge in cases, deaths and hospitalizations. Now, it's unclear how different the Delta Plus variant is from the original, but initial studies have shown it's just as infectious and fast spreading. 40 cases have been found in 7 Indian states. The Indian government has issued warnings to 3 states where a majority of these cases have been found, asking these regions to impose containment measures to ensure that this variant does not spread to other regions. It's unclear if this variant can also be neutralized by the existing vaccines at India's disposal. Experts have been warning that given India's slow vaccination pace, there is room for the virus to continue to mutate, and we're seeing the first proof of that. So far, India's only fully vaccinated just about 5% of all Indians, but its target is hugely ambitious. It aims to vaccinate all 900 million adults by the end of this year. India needs to prioritize vaccinating all adults to ensure that as lockdown restrictions are eased, Indians can stay protected. Neha Punia for CBC News, New Delhi.
It's promising to be an Olympics unlike any other. How COVID-19 will change the experience for both athletes and fans. Next.
After barely 24 hours in office, home in Vancouver.
Prime Minister?
Oh, I can't get used to that.
But that's what they came to see, the Prime Minister, their Prime Minister. The people here at the Point Grey Fiesta and the rest of the Vancouver Centre riding are, after all, the only voters in Canada who actually got to vote for Kim Campbell.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you. It's just a treat to be home, I have to tell you.
Far from being blasé about something that happened in the distant East, Vancouverites gave her the star treatment.
May I take a picture?
You sure can. You want to turn around this way so we can look at your dad there?
And Campbell responded with enthusiasm.
How proud I am to be from Vancouver. How proud I am to be the Member of Parliament from Vancouver Centre. I want to say to you today, consider yourselves hugged.
But amid the euphoria, over at the Lucky Dip stand, a reality check.
You never know what you can win.
Hetty Fry thinks she knows what she can win. Kim Campbell's parliamentary seat. Fry is a Liberal candidate in the riding.
She will be judged by her record in this riding. And she hasn't been around a lot. She's been too busy being a minister. And with a prime ministership, she probably won't be here at all, except to fly in like she's doing today and say hi and wave and send kisses and then take off again.
But at a Tory welcome rally, Campbell was doing more than just waving and saying hi. She was strengthening her political fences in a province where the Tories have not been doing well.
This is a reinvigorated party and a team that is ready to go full blast to win in this fall's election.
This was confirmation that she is sticking to her plan not to hold an early summer election. In her speeches here today, there was none of the careful scripting of her recent Ottawa speeches. No text at all, in fact, just political stroking.
This is a province where the horizons are there for everyone, and I think that's a spirit of optimism and possibility that we bring to the national scene.
And the beat of the new sensation. And hugging and kissing, but definitely no substance. The new Prime Minister's first full day in office just wasn't that kind of a day. Joe Schlesinger, CBC News, Vancouver.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox. CBC Vancouver is a proud returning sponsor of the Talking Stick Festival, the largest multidisciplinary Indigenous arts festival of its kind in North America. Get your tickets today at fullcircle.ca. And never miss a special programming series or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter at cbc.ca/Vancouver Inbox and keep connected with us.
Burnaby's own Christine St. Clair will lead Canada's women's soccer team in Tokyo this summer. This will be her 4th Olympics. The 18-player roster was announced today with 4 alternates. St. Clair will be joined by a fellow BC player midfielder, Julia Grosso from Vancouver, who will be making her Olympic debut. Chilliwack's Jordan Heitema and Abbotsford's Sophie Schmidt were tapped as alternates, with the coach calling the decision on Schmidt the biggest call of her career, saying Schmidt was devastated. The Canadians are heading into Tokyo ranked 8th in the world. And with just 30 days to go before those summer games, the anticipation is building. But these pandemic games are going to be unlike any other for the fans and the competitors. Renee Filipponi shows us what they'll be up against.
Take your marks. The games start in a month, but because of the pandemic delays, many athletes are still competing for their ticket to Tokyo. The Canadian swim trials this week paint a picture of what the games will look like.
Mom and Dad are certainly happy with that.
Family cheering on athletes virtually, with limited spectators in the stands.
We're used to it. We'll be able to be there when it counts and do our best, even though we won't have that crowd there cheering us on.
Concerns over COVID have led to a ban on foreign fans in Tokyo. For domestic spectators, the venues will have a 50% capacity limit, and they will be a lot quieter. Today, organizers announced shouting and whistling will be off limits. Clapping will be the only way to cheer. Already, there is a COVID case linked to the games. A member of the Ugandan team tested positive on arrival in Tokyo.
That shows that the system is working, like with the tests before you leave your country and as you arrive.
No question, McBean and Heddle, the heavy favorites here. And
Marnie McBean is a 3-time Olympic gold medalist and the chef de mission for Tokyo. She says the protocols are unprecedented.
We will be staying inside our Olympic environments, our accommodation, our venues. And, I've sort of said it's going to be a little bit like a hamster or a gerbil warren.
But the logistics aren't top of mind for athletes busy training.
I really just have to make sure that I'm rested and happy and ready to go.
Oh, there it is. Was Ari scored?
Jessica Klimkate is a judo medal hopeful after winning gold at the World Championships. She is just happy to head to her first Olympics, despite the circumstances.
At the end of the day, I'm going there as an athlete because I take this very seriously.
Win or lose, these will be games like none other. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
Meteorologist Johanna Wagstaffe back now with the forecast. Joe, these must be some of the hottest temperatures BC has ever seen.
You're right, Anita. Yeah, this is going to be one for the record books and obviously one of concern with only 60% of British Columbians with access to AC at home. So authorities already asking people to prepare. I want to take you back to those warnings just to remind that now almost all of British Columbia under the heat warnings for the event that'll start this Friday and last through Monday. These are the all-time June records to beat. In the Valley, this is where we will definitely be beating June all-time temperature records. Abbotsford could be looking at a couple of days of 40-degree weather. Some of these are very old records. These are sort of what we call once in a century weather events, but of course, climate change shifting that baseline. But 1925 records likely to fall as we head into the weekend. Fire danger, the other huge side of this story. Here's a snapshot of today. You can see those pockets of extreme. We do have a few lightning strikes as well happening late this evening in through the Kootenays. But for the most part, we are looking at clear skies, but obviously not a great setup as we head into the summer. 31 for Kelowna tomorrow. Notice the cloud cover across most of central BC. This is our dip between the domes, as I've been calling it, the next heat dome to start for Friday. So enjoy that marine air in Vancouver for one more day, mix of sun and cloud. It's those overnight lows that I'm really concerned about. Check that out. Saturday night, Sunday night. Those are the low temperatures. So you might want to think about heading to the basement, have that backup plan, head to the library. Got a couple days to think about it.
I've heard a lot of people say they're sleeping in the basement for sure.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
That is it for our show tonight. You can always find it online, cbc.ca/BC. Dan Burritt is here at 11 o'clock after the National with your next local news. Have a good night.